Second part of this table talk, I want to continue answering the question that Adam asked, but I'm gonna approach it from a different standpoint, and that is when you're asked by parents or younger kids if they should. Usually, it's for me over the years. It's always been the bench press. I run into this situation many times. I can think of 4 right off the top of my head over the past 4 or 5 years. You know, if I go back to when I was, actually working as a trainer and coaching athletes and training athletes, it was a lot more often than this. And that is, you run into the situation to where you have a younger kid, junior high school age, who you're working with, and you're doing the body weight movements, and you're doing the conditioning and the general preparatory work that they need to be doing at that age to be conditioned enough to be able to get into the weight training. So you're doing the right progressions, so to say, on the body weight movements to move them into the benches and the squats, cleans, whatever you're going to have them do, whatever's part of the basic mix that you're going to put together for them. So you have them on track to be able to do this, and then the call comes from a parent, or the kid tells you something about how their junior high wrestling, football, whatever coach has them, bench pressing, and they're maxing out on the bench, and you want to scream, and there's nothing you can do, because this kid's not prepared to be able to even be on the bench in the first place, let alone have some idiot having to max out on the bench when the kid can't even do proper push-ups. And you are kind of hand-strapped a little bit, because you can't call the coach, because all that's going to do is hurt the athlete in the long run. And you can't, I've tried, a lot of the coaches, you can't really educate them because they think that they know everything in the first place. So you're stuck. So what I found is effective is to make a deal with the kids that I'm working with. And the deal that I throw out there to them always involves the bench press, because that it seems to always be the lift that they're maxing out on. It's these guys, these coaches never testing them in the squat or the deadlift, thank God, but it's always the bench press. So the way the deal goes is I'll sit the kids down, parents, there's got to be communication with the parents as well if you are working with kids. So the parents need to know how you feel, what's going on, and at the same time, you need to make sure that the parents aren't going to call the coach and tell him that he's an idiot for having to max out on the bench press and everything else. So there has to be a good line of communication between the trainer and the parent, as well as the kid. The way that I've always explained it to kids is, and I'm 12 years old, we're talking, teenagers, junior high school kids, is the reason that they want to bench press and the reason they're doing the bench press is because everybody else that's on the team is doing it. And if you've been training for any period of time, you pretty much know that in the United States, the bench press is a cock measuring contest, plain and simple. That's all it is. Everybody wants to know, how much do you bench? There's T-shirts, slogan. everything is just, it's how much do you bench? So, and that's why they're doing it. They want to be able to bench more than what their peer did, or if their buddy benched 95 pounds, they want to say that they benched 100 so they could beat their buddy, or they want to bench the same as what their buddy did. And on and on and on and on, because you'll hear the bragging from the kids on, they benched 85 pounds, 75 pounds, whatever it is, you hear the bragging about it. So what I basically do is I sit them down and I tell them that the bench press is a cock measuring contest, plain and simple. That's all it is. And it doesn't matter if they're bench pressing 65 pounds, 55 pounds, 85 pounds, 115 pounds, or 135 pounds, 155 pounds, whatever it is, all it is a 4-inch cock. Plain and simple. That's it. It's not a big bench. We all know that. They know that. It may be a big bench to them, but in the overall grand scheme of things, it's the equivalent of a 4-inch dick. So that's how I explain it to them. Then what I ask them is, if they listen to what I tell them to do and they stick to the deal that I make with them, which I'll explain at the end of this video, then I'll make sure when they're in high school, they have a monster cock. They have a 10-inch cock instead of a 4-inch dick. So everybody else will still have the 4-inch dick because of their inadequate training methods and everything else. I'll make sure that they got monster meat and that they're going to be able to bench 400 pounds, whatever they're capable of benching, I'll make sure to do that. I'll show them how to do that. I'll make the promise to them that I'll technically show them how to do that. I've been there before. I know what needs to be done to do that. I've helped hundreds of other people do that before. I've trained with people who have benched well over that. I've bench pressed well over that. I bench pressed over that when I was in high school as well. So they can either learn from their inadequate coach who's going to help them develop their 4-inch cock, or they can do what I tell them to do and have monster meat when it comes to high school. So usually they're going to make the choice that they're going to want to have the greater strength and the bigger dick when they're in high school. And so what is the deal? What is the deal that I make with them? Very simple. I still allow them to go in and do what they're going to do with their coach, because the coach is going to be having them do whatever stupid shit they're going to have them do. So if the coach is having them do 2 sets of 6 on the bench press, whatever it is, I want them to fake it until they make it. So I want them, if it's a set of 6, I want them to fail with the bar at 6 reps. If they can do 85 pounds, I don't give a shit. I want them to fail with the bar and fake their progressions so they're always training way under what they're capable of training under, and making sure every rep that they do is done slowly, controlled, and with good technique. And I will show them fairly good technique, good enough technique to be able to fake it through this, and that let them know that it doesn't matter that everybody else in there is going to be benching more than what they are. That's not what's important. What is important is the physical development for their sport and how well they're going to participate in their sport and the total strength they're going to have as an athlete for the sport that they're participating in, not their bench press. What we're working on is developing the total athlete. We'll worry about the monster meat after they've developed the foundation to be able to actually train the bench press properly in the first place. So my expectation on them is for them to fake it, and if they can fake it, and then by the time they mature and they can do 50 good push-ups, and that's one of the markers that I use before I'll work with any kid on the bench press at all, is I want 50 good push-ups where they're going down, touching their chest on the floor, and back up with a straight back, none of this cheating bull crap. Once they do that, then I'll be able to start working on their technique. So I want them to fake the bench press, start working the crap out of their push-ups to develop their arm strength, their upper body strength, and their body weight strength. And then from there, once they're able to do that, I'll begin really working their technique, and then they'll be able to reinforce that technique when they go in and do the training with a junior high strength coach, if you can call it that. Typically, it's just a coach who read an article somewhere or is just doing whatever he did when he played and didn't start years ago, and keeping the kids safe and keeping them from, from hurt. I don't want to say hurting themselves, because I doubt they're going to hurt themselves, because they're not going to be lifting weights heavy enough to really hurt themselves. They're going to screw everything up that you're trying to develop. They're going to have a false interpretation of what their strength really is. And in the long run, in the beginning, that false interpretation is going to be false, because they're going to think that they're stronger than what they really are. And then in the long run, what's going to happen with their poor technique and crappy methods of training that they're doing, they're going to end up actually being weaker than what they could possibly be if they develop the proper foundation.